The Female Perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmire, and Arlene Falon.
Hi, and welcome to The Female Perspective. I'm Barbie Bonder, LCSW.
I'm Kathy Whitmire, LMHC.
And I'm Arlene Falon, psychotherapist.
And today we are discussing the power of forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
This is a really big, heavy topic.
That's a strong word.
This is a strong one. So, brace yourselves and tighten up your pants there and have a seat, because this is one of the main things that I get when I do therapy and individual therapy, or even any type of therapy with people. I notice that a lot of the stuff that comes up with everyone is the fact that they are, dealing with some type of issues that are being harbored because of lack of forgiveness.
They're holding on to that resentment.
Right. So let's first go ahead and define what forgiveness is. So based on the Mayo Clinic, forgiveness is a decision to let go of resentment and thoughts of revenge.
That's not easy to do, though, because when you're so mad, it's like
everything just be running
plot.
around. Yeah, you want to
and
just...
you fantasize about their
This person
demise.
hurt me, let me hurt them back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's the hard part. Letting go of resentment and thoughts of revenge alone is a big, huge step before we even get into anything else. But that in itself is a difficult thing.
Now, wait, have you had to forgive?
Oh God,
somebody?
of course.
Of
course. Yeah. Boyfriends that have wronged you.
Every time
failed
I get on the turnpike,
relationships.
when I get on the turnpike after 7 a.m., I have to forgive somebody. Okay.
Issues with friends.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because when you really look at it, a lot of the issues that lead to forgiveness always has to do with your expectations of something not turning out the way that you thought that it would. So that's one of the main issues is, you expect friendships to be a certain way. You expect relationships to be a certain way, to be treated a certain way, to have some kind of different outcome than what you do. And the minute that things are not held up to your expectations, then you get hurt. And then that's when the feelings of resentment, revenge, all those things come in, because there's such a deep-seated anger. And the anger is really just a part of the hurt, pretty much.
I've learned that not only in forgiving others, you have to forgive yourself first.
Yeah, that's a big...
You really have to just forgive yourself for allowing or even accepting what you thought or assumed what you wanted the outcome to be.
Right.
So that's a lot of things that people need to understand. It's not all about just saying, okay, I'm sorry, I forgive you for what you did to me, but you also have to forgive yourself.
Well, why would you be forgiving yourself if you were the one that was wrong?
Because a lot of times
obviously relationships are a two-way street, so you may have done something that led them, but
but
if your husband cheats on you, do you have to forgive yourself?
Maybe you weren't not in that situation.
The prize wife, and maybe you weren't there for them, etc. But making that decision to cheat and be dishonest,
Right. That was obviously his decision, but maybe you had a part in why.
Maybe you seen the flags, or maybe you didn't want to accept it, or the reality of it until it got to that boom moment, when everything explodes. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. So let's go back to what is forgiveness. So the big thing is that it's a decision to let go of resentment and thoughts of revenge. The act that hurt or offended you, that someone hurt or affected you, might always remain a part of your life. But forgiveness can lessen its grip on you and help you focus on other more positive parts of your life. And forgiveness can even lead to feelings of understanding, empathy, and compassion for the one who hurt you. So here's the big thing. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you deny the other person's responsibility for hurting you, and it doesn't minimize or justify the wrong. You can forgive the person without excusing the fact. And forgiveness brings a kind of peace that helps you go on with life. So there's a lot encompassed in what that definition is based on the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But what it basically comes down to, at least my way of understanding it, is that forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean that I forget what happened, or that it makes the act of what happened justifiable. It doesn't mean that everything that you did to me because I forgive you is erased and we just kind of move on with everything else. What happened, again, depending on the degree of what it is that happened and what it is that you're dealing with, the act isn't going to be erased. I mean,
right,
you're
it's still going to always be there.
So when people say, happened, I can forgive you, but I won't forget it.
Exactly.
That's not truly.
No, you don't forget.
No,
you can still forgive and move on and say, okay, you know, I like this definition that a psychologist, Sonja Lyubomirsky, she called forgiveness a shift in thinking towards somebody. So you're shifting, your brain shifts from wanting to hurt that person and just wishing them to, okay, you know, it's like a positive feeling towards them. You know, you still don't forget, like she said, they still stabbed me in the back. She still took my man, but you just kind of switch and no longer wish her to be run over by a car. You know, you're still remembering.
I'd rather do a Tonka truck. You know?
Okay, well,
yeah, I do a Tonka truck.
But you still remember. It'll always be there.
And obviously it depends, you know, like I think when you really talk about forgiveness, a big part of it really depends on what the act was. You know, there are certain things that are very important when you are 16, 17,
right.
You know, that feels like the end of the world, and you're kind of going through this place where you just don't really know how you're going to recuperate. And obviously, you know, time passes and it gets to a point in your life where that specific situation doesn't really affect you, and you probably don't even care at this point. And there's things that, you know, you could hold with you well into your whole entire life. You know, something extremely dramatic that might have happened. You know, you were discussing before we even went on, like the case of a murder or something like that. You know, those are things that you probably will never forget, will always be with you.
Right.
But the level of resentment and revenge is the part that forgiveness comes into.
So would you say it's true that it takes the stronger person to be able to forgive?
I think so.
I think so.
I think you have to have a lot of growth.
Absolutely.
A lot of growth within you to be able to say, okay, I forgive you, I'm moving on. Now that doesn't mean you have to be friends.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
You don't have to be friends with, you know.
I can forgive you for what you did to me.
Stole my boyfriend.
You know, I can forgive you. I could forgive you so that you do not maintain space in my thoughts. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
Because when you have issues of revenge, resentment towards someone, to be quite honest, what you're primarily doing is really obsessing about things happening to this person. If you have issues of, you know, wanting someone to be hurt because of what they did to you, and you have revenge towards them, and you have feelings of resentment, you're going to constantly be thinking of what are the things that could happen to this person and what it is that would give you some type of level of satisfaction if this person in some way was suffering or something like that. So to be really honest with you, what ends up happening is you are then spending endless amount of time in your thoughts alone, being preoccupied with this person. So you're giving this person a home in your thoughts, and you're giving this person, you know, time to just fester.
Like like the cliche say, when you don't forgive somebody or you hold animosity towards somebody, you're letting them live rent free in your brain. Exactly. So, you know, they're just living there. And you know what? Sometimes they don't even know the amount of time that you
sit there and let it just
fester and fester.
And they don't care. They're done.
About it, you know.
You're out of their thoughts.
They might not even know that they hurt you to the degree that they hurt you. So, you know, they might not even be aware of that in itself. And here you're spending countless years, you know, dreaming up of like scenarios for what could happen to this person, because in the end, you think you'll feel better if something ends up happening. And what you don't realize is that in that time, those thoughts that you're festering for resentment and revenge and anger are really leading to a negative state in your life. So you have to ask yourself, do you really want to live in this bitter, negative kind of lifestyle where, you know, you're just constantly obsessing about what happened to you, what it is that occurred, how it is that you're going to get over it,
and we
what
all
it
been
is that
there.
could happen.
Right. We all been there. And when you describe that, I went through it with somebody about, it had to be about 5 years ago. I mean, really went through it to the point to where anytime I ran across somebody with her name, I associated those feelings. I mean, and it was clearly childish, yes.
And poor Lucy.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
2 weeks ago.
And then, a neighbor moved into the neighborhood. She was walking her child, and I had, my son. And when we met, she's like, "Oh yeah, my name is such." Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah, they're not friends anymore.
I'm out of the neighborhood.
I'm reading my roll sheet. And I'm reading. Okay, Jessica, Michelle. Oh, you know. So yeah, it's
she gets enough. That's not nice.
But it's not nice. But yeah, but like I say, that's the type of the inner mess that you can have and hold towards somebody when it's not even that serious.
Right.
I could have been doing much positive things, much things to interact with my day-to-day life, but for some reason she just held this tiny piece of something that was always here.
But do you think we have to tell somebody, "Hey, I'm going to forgive you"? Do you think that you need to? No.
And I think that's one of the important things that we'll touch upon is that forgiveness isn't something that you do for the other person.
True.
I'm not forgiving you so that you can see what a great person I am.
And you feel better.
That I am able to forgive you for what you did to me. I'm forgiving you so that I don't live in this place of bitter, anger, revenge, resentful thoughts constantly where I'm bringing you up in my head. But rather, I'm forgiving you so that I can be calmer in my life, so that I cannot have these years of thoughts and obsessive thoughts about you. And every time I meet someone, I think of you. And every time that this happens, that you come into my mind. And, I'm doing it for myself. So the most important part, I think, in forgiveness is that it isn't something that you have to tell that person because you're not doing it for recognition, but you're rather doing it for yourself. You're doing it to reach a level of peace, I think, more than anything within yourself.
And we need that inner peace.
And like you mentioned, I think we've all done that. I think we've all festered resentment and anger. But I can say for myself, as I've gotten older, I've become more aware of how that affects me in a certain way.
Definitely.
And I create a certain level of awareness in me to understand what negative feelings that brings up and be able to say to myself, I'm willing to just let this go just for the sake that I don't want to be in that place anymore. I don't want to put myself through that constant type of negativity because I'm doing that to myself. It's not that person.
Yeah, they're not doing it anymore. They've done what they did.
Right.
And they don't went on with their life trying to do something
and we're
different.
Still ruminating about it and making these crazy associations with our neighbors.
So stay tuned. You're listening to The Female Perspective. Today we're discussing the power of forgiveness.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
This is Wilma Shakespeare,
Anger,
and Disaster Chief
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby and the 305.
Get the 411 on the women's team,
the men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio.
On 247miami.tv.
And now, back to The Female Perspective with your hosts, Kathy Whitmire, Barbie Bonder, and Arlene Salon.
Hi, and welcome back to The Female Perspective. Today we're talking about the power of forgiveness. So prior to break, we went over the definition of forgiveness, And right now, we're just going to talk a little bit about what forgiveness is not, because there's often a misconstrued idea of what it is.
There's so many different things.
So many different definitions
of what it is
and what it's not and what it can be. So one thing that researchers are clear on is what forgiveness is not. So let's go through some of these, because that's going to help clarify a little bit about understanding the process of forgiveness. So forgiveness, as we said before, is not necessarily the same as reconciliation.
Right. You're not going to become BFFs with them because now all of a sudden, you know, you've had a big falling out for a year and, oh, I've forgiven her. But hey, let's go out to happy hour.
Yeah, that's also a lot of people believe that, like, just because I forgive you right now,
that means that we're going to be back to where we were.
How it was, but it's not.
Sometimes you can't, you know, sometimes you can reconcile.
Again,
you know,
depending on the degree of what it is that happened and how comfortable you are.
Right.
Forgiveness is also not something that you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation to be able to reconcile.
And remember, reconciliation has to come from
both
two
parties.
people. Forgiveness can just come on my part, but if we're going to reconcile and be friends again, it has to be a mutual thing.
Right. So even though reconciliation can follow forgiveness, it's possible to forgive without reestablishing or recontinuing a friendship. I can get to the point that I forgive you for what happened in our friendship and in our relationship, and I can make the conscious decision to say that I forgive that act of what it is that happened, but I'm not in a place where I'm necessarily comfortable allowing you into my life, or I understand that having you in my life has some consequences and repercussions in my life where I'm okay eliminating you from my life and not necessarily having you be a part of anything significant that happens to me or even going out, but I forgive you for it. That doesn't necessarily mean we're friends.
We're back again.
Or we're back how we were.
I mean, would you think that there would always be something in the back of your head as if they did it once, they'll do it again? Like you run that, you know, that shame on.
But we cannot predict the future.
We can't predict, but don't you think that maybe if you try to go and work towards reconciliation, best friend who took your high school boyfriend, don't you think that maybe in the back of your head there may be something like, is she gonna do it again?
That's when I come
Will
up with
she do it again?
Forgiving of yourself, because you would not put yourself in that same predicament to be used or hurt that way. Lucy stole Michael from me. I know Lucy. Poor Lucy stole my boyfriend in high school. Yes, we make up. It's going to be hard for me to leave my husband.
I was just going to say, are you going to invite her over to, meet your husband?
I wouldn't put myself allow Lucy to
fool
come.
Me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Now, I would let like a girls' night out or something like that. I would bring Lucy over, like, here, you know, Kathy, Barbie, this is Lucy.
And then we'd be
look
like,
at her.
Oh,
we know who you are, Lucy.
I heard about you, Lucy.
You ain't coming to my house, Lucy.
But I think Lucy's, a lot of Lucy's are loose.
Loosey goosey.
Oh boy,
that's right.
But I think it comes
Poor
down
Wes's
to
grandmother's name was Lucille, and she was so sweet. But yeah, Lucy.
But I think a big part of it, like we said before, really comes down to what is it that happened? You know, like
the situation.
Did Lucy take my boyfriend, or did Lucy like lie to me about something insignificant in school?
What if Lucy told like a big secret that you had confided in her? That's a big reason for.
Well, see, that mean I wouldn't tell Lucy nothing
else.
Exactly.
No, well, you would never tell Lucy anything
but I know the basis of our friendship now.
Right.
I mean, we still could go do, other,
I don't know. We
just couldn't.
Imagine you tell her something, you molested as a child, something really, really bad, and she goes and blabs it all over school.
Yeah.
Then again, that comes down to the fact that you don't have to forgive anyone that you don't want to forgive. And you don't have to let someone in your life that you don't want to. It's not like once I forgive you, I have to reconcile and everything.
Exactly.
I don't.
It's not.
It's my life. I'm able to determine where in my pyramid of friendship do I want you, or if you're not even in that pyramid and you're like out in the parking lot somewhere, like
some acquaintance.
Yeah, you're just down there where I see you, and I'm like, oh, hey.
Didn't we talk about forgiveness a lot when we discussed marriage?
Yeah.
Now, what is the role? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not married. So I'm pretty sure, like in a marriage, you would have to forgive over and over.
Well, I mean, I don't know about
it's two different individuals.
Yeah, but forgiveness to me requires like some big act. Like, he hit me. do I forgive or do I move on? I mean, that would be,
Yeah,
but
forgiveness
I mean,
isn't like he didn't do
it's-
the dishes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, 2 days of
You
the
know,
dishes
that's
being
not
in the
like he didn't
sink.
do the dishes. It's not like
Am I gonna
he-
be forgiven for not doing,
It's not like he
doing
picked
the laundry?
up the kids
Yeah,
at
Or he
the
forgot
wrong
to
time.
pick up the kids from school.
right.
It's like dinner time.
That's
at 7.
happened, and there was no need to forgive. It happens. It wasn't a intentional
You
thing.
forgot to pick up the kids.
Well, it was just a smidgen late. Not me.
I love you
But-
all.
But let's go back to what forgiveness is not. So we're pretty much clear, right? That forgiveness
Yeah,
is not
not
the same as
reconciliation. You don't have to be friends
Okay.
with them.
Here's the other big one. Forgiveness is not forgetting.
Oh,
That's what
easy
we
to
said
do.
at the beginning.
It's
Yeah.
easier to forget the whole situation. I'm gonna forget your phone number. I'm gonna forget your email address.
No.
I'm gonna forget you on
But
Facebook.
it's-
No,
Here's
it's
the
easier to
thing.
forgive than forget, I
Right.
think.
Here's the thing. Forgiveness does not mean that I'm going to forget everything that happened. That's one of
Exactly.
the things that people struggle with the most, and they say I can't forgive because I could never forget. Exactly. That's the point.
Right.
You
We
know,
don't have to forget
You don't have
in
to
order
forget
to forgive.
what happened in order to forgive.
Right.
And when we put that pressure on ourselves, that assuming that to be able to reach a place of forgiveness requires you to forget the act that is leading to this in the
Mm-mm.
first place, then that's a lot of pressure for you to be able to accomplish all that. That's not going to happen. So just be very clear in understanding that you can forgive someone for what happened, but you don't have to forget what happened. It's two different
Right.
things.
Exactly.
Forgiveness is not condoning or excusing.
Right.
Justifying the other's action.
Right. It's not
Correct.
minimizing it. It's not putting yourself in a position to be harmed again, which we spoke about that. Lucy, you're not going to invite her over
Over-
to,
Yeah, no
Dinner-
family functions.
exactly, dinner with your husband
His
or
birthday
anything like that.
party,
Right.
none of that,
No.
no.
And
Lucy's
like
not
double
invited.
date.
Right. And
yeah.
like if Lucy has shown me that she's not the best at keeping secrets, but I decide that Lucy still has some
Other
positive
family qualities.
redeeming qualities.
that, help me in some way.
Right.
and
Maybe
that
Lucy's
have-
a lot of fun.
Maybe Lucy's
And
fun.
it's fun and if you're bored, and she's always available
Maybe
to do
Lucy's
something.
great with kids, so you do fun
Yeah.
things with Lucy and you have Lucy watch the kids or
Right,
your
but you're
kids
not
really
going to tell
love
her about the
right.
fight you're having with your
or
husband.
your kids really love
Mm-mm.
Lucy's kids, and you also don't want to separate them from
That's
that.
tough. Okay, let's
Yeah.
touch on that.
But you could still be friends
what
with
if
Lucy.
what if you're friends with somebody and your kids get along and then she stabs you in the back and you say, no, we're not hanging out with Lucy and Billy, Bobby, and Junior. But then you have Aiden at home going, but I want to hang out with Billy. I miss Bobby. What do you do there?
That's hard. That's
Do
hard.
you forgive?
I think again that really comes down to what exactly is it that happened.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you still can't separate the bond because you don't want the repercussions of the behaviors in your household. Like right now, Aiden have friends. He have friends on his football team, on his track team, and I try to keep a level of friendship with their mom so it
Mhm.
don't get to that point that
Okay.
we can fall out. You get what I mean?
Okay, they're not that close. They're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, but they're not that close. But I'm saying like a
Single
really
serving
close friend
friends.
of yours that has a child that your son enjoys spending time with, and she ends up doing something that is just totally atrocious to you, that although the day might come when you can forgive her, you are just not there yet.
Truly.
What happens
Mhm.
then?
And then Aiden's going next Saturday. Mommy, I want to go hang out with.
They moved to Arizona.
Okay, so you're just gonna lie? You're gonna lie to Aiden? You're gonna tell the camera how you're gonna lie to Aiden?
They moved to Arizona
moved
for
to
a few
Arizona,
months until we
yeah.
could get back to No, but that's a hard
He's
one.
got the chicken pox.
That's a hard one.
That is
unless
hard.
you
My
be
friend,
two
my friend
mature
went,
adults.
yeah, my friend went through that, and to be quite honest, what happened between them was something that I think through time she was able to forgive, but in all sincerity, it took a really long
Mhm.
time to get there. So yeah, unfortunately, the kids saw each other. I think they were in the same school or something like that, or after school type of activity.
Okay, so they were still
but
hanging out. but there was-
obviously, the going over to each other's
right,
house
the
and having
weekends, going to the
sleepovers
zoo and all
like
that.
it had been didn't happen.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And again,
That's a hard one.
depending, I mean, you could be the most mature adult in the whole entire world, but it's like
But we
if you
still have
really did
feelings,
something that
though.
really is just considered atrocious. I mean, I have to be able to get to that place where I'm okay with it. But I don't think I would be comfortable. Oh, okay, well, you're gonna go over to poor Lucy, to Lucy's house and hang out with Lucy and stuff, because there has to come a place where I'm able to actually
Right.
like process and
And
really
heal.
forgive. I remember, listen, now that you brought it up, I remember when I was little, my mom had a really good friend and I used to always go there. And then at one point we just stopped going and I was
that
like,
happened to me too.
all right. And actually now that you brought it up, and I wasn't like traumatized or anything. I mean,
No, you get over it.
You're like a kid. You
Kids
get
are
over it
resilient.
and,
Their
like,
new friend next week.
you have a new friend. And then
But
that's
when
what you
it's been
do.
something that like you spend every after school day, all the weekends, especially if it's a neighbor.
Okay,
My
maybe
case was a
like,
neighbor. So, hey, I'm going to so-and-so's, and it was just crossing the street, and she'd be, and then, one day it stopped. And now I know that the lady was, backstabber. And
Okay, what happened when it's like siblings or like family rivalries or something that happens, like, say, for example, funerals bring out the good and bad in
God,
families.
inheritances, anything having to do with money.
So what
I think
happens
anything
when-
having to do with money is
so
going
when
to
that
rip.
happens when it's in the family and the family have a division there, and now you no longer, with this cousin
Right.
or with that cousin, that really hurts.
That is tough.
That's
because
tough
that's
place to be.
family, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen
That's tough.
family not speak to each other for years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Years. And we talk about forgiveness. So
So the last one is forgiveness is not justice. It is certainly easier to forgive someone who sincerely apologizes and make amends. However, justice
but
which
that has to happen though.
may include accomplishment of the wrong, apologies, punishment, separate from forgiveness. You may pursue your rights and justice with or without forgiving someone, and if justice is denied, you can still choose whether or not to forgive.
So this would be something like
say if
if you're going to press charges or
Okay.
somebody, the lady,
That you were
the
talking
example
about.
that you
Right.
gave that you give in your classes about a mother whose son was murdered, and
it was her only child. He was murdered at a graduation party somewhere by another young man who was also 19. He got tried, went to prison for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years.
Wow.
During that time, she was going to the prison to visit, to get closure. Once she got closure, she gained a bond with him, and she totally forgave him to the point to where she accepted what he did, accepted that he took away her only son.
But you know what? Justice was done though.
Right.
Because the kid
Yeah,
did
he
end up
served time.
serving a lot of time. So there was justice in that case.
Right. So, and after he came out, she was able to find him an apartment, which happened to be right next door to hers.
Oh, wow.
And they started some type
Now,
of nonprofit. And they
Do you
go
think she
around
was
and
trying to
talk.
replace her son with
I
him
think
though?
so.
And I'm
that's
sorry.
the way I was thinking.
My brain
Yeah.
had to go there. She's
I was thinking
replacing
that,
one
yeah.
void with another. Because that's a little too,
Too friendly,
that's
too
way too
forgiving.
forgiving.
Yeah.
I mean,
But they started a
that's-
nonprofit, and they go around now talking about gun violence
Okay.
and teen
community,
crimes,
right,
and all that
right.
type of things.
And again, that, for whatever reason it is that she did it, it sat well with her and she was able to do
Sure.
that.
And again, we have to forgive for our own
Right.
reasons.
And
It's
for how
our
and
own-
you could take it to whatever level you're comfortable with. You know what I mean? Maybe someone would have been comfortable just forgiving and
moving on.
moving
and
on.
That's it, or we don't-
she took it to this whole other step, and it's not to say that everyone has to reach that level of forgiveness. But in the end, I think it really comes down to the point that there is no right or wrong. You simply do what feels right
and comfortable
for you.
on your level.
You decide what's comfortable for you. You decide what makes you feel good. You decide where you're at with everything. You know what I mean? And then you can make that decision based on that. But it's not like a set way of what you have to do. And if you don't do this, then you haven't forgiven.
Exactly.
You're listening to The Female Perspective. Today we're talking about the power of forgiveness. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back with more Female Perspective right after this.
Octavio, yo, Doc Ock. What? Get your together. We gotta go.
Go where?
We're moving. Did you hear the memo? We're moving to Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
Yes, we're moving to Wednesdays at 7. Get your together. Put John and Ricky in the box. We gotta go.
Okay.
Get me out of here.
That's right. The Royo Show is moving now to Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, only on 247miami.tv.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
This is Wilma Shakespeare, Anger,
And Disaster Chief.
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
And Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby in the 305,
Get the 411 on the women's team.
The men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio
Rink Rash Radio.
on 247miami.tv.
And now, back to the female perspective with your hosts, Barbie Bonder, Kathy Whitmer, and Arlene Samad.
Hi, welcome back to the Female Perspective. Today we're discussing forgiveness. We have talked about what forgiveness is, what forgiveness is not. And now let's talk a little bit about the benefits of forgiveness. So what is our responses to being wronged? Do we want to reciprocate, wronging them just as much as they've wronged us? Avoid the person, or we seek revenge? That's usually how we're programmed when somebody's messed us up. So when we forgive, it's a conscious decision to offer generosity to the actions of that person that they did, or to somebody. And we benefit ourselves. So what is it that research has said about forgiveness?
So here's the big thing. So basically, there's certain things that happen when you forgive. The main thing is that you end up having fewer episodes of depression. As we previously stated, if I'm going to constantly be in a place where I'm just bringing up the scenario of like what could happen to you and like what's the worst thing and blah, blah, blah. There's going to come a time where I'm going to not be the happiest person because I am just so concerned about what it is that could happen to you. And I'm so concerned about all these things that I want that I'm not even really living my life in the moment.
Why are we spending so much time just worrying about this person, There comes a point that you have to say, and we sit there and talk with our friend about it, and look at what she did, and look at what this one did, and
bring it up again. And you become a Facebook stalker, trying to. The thing about it, it's like you when you're hurt, you deep down inside, you want that person to be hurt as well. But when you're hurt, then you go and you look and they're smiling and they just posted how we're just going to Disney World.
Right,
and I'm like, you just lied to me or you did something to me and you could just go on with your life like that?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you?
And then again, that comes back to what we said at the beginning, which is these things called expectations.
Right.
Of how we expect the other person to react.
Dying
in a perfect world,
Right.
So people who forgive have fewer episodes of depression. Mm-hmm. They're also known to have higher self-esteem.
Right.
Yeah. They go. They go hand in hand.
Do you believe it's based on gender that women are harder to forgive somebody than men are?
Oh yeah. Oh, probably. Absolutely. Yeah. No, not probably. Absolutely. We are catty. We will, and I know from he's not saying much over there today, but he knows, and he'll be like, God, you guys are awful, or we don't like her. Well, why not? Well, we just don't.
Oh, I love
her name
that.
is Lucy.
I love relationships like that. If I don't like her, you don't like her. We don't like her.
Exactly.
Okay.
Don't talk to her. But I think we're worse and holding grudges and stuff.
You think it's in our DNA?
Maybe.
Maybe it's in the estrogen, or maybe testosterone that men have. Their feelings. I mean, come on, we go through cycles of hormones.
I agree
and
in that
stuff.
part.
Well, that's another $1 million idea. In order to forgive, better just get us some testosterone.
We'll see, you keep putting our ideas out
there. We go. It's out there now.
So we've got higher self-esteem, fewer episodes of depression.
More
people
friends.
Who forgive are likely to have more friends.
Oh, definitely.
And longer marriages.
And
if you forgive your husband for cheating, you're
going to have a longer marriage,
right? So that would make sense.
But overall, I think if you are a person that, forgives and doesn't harbor resentment or revenge or anger, then you are actually going to be a happier person.
And more open to receiving,
more lovable person. So, I mean, it makes sense that you're going to have more friends. It makes sense that you're going to have better self-esteem because you are also coming from a place where you feel better about yourself. And believe it or not, that's something that's projected to others.
Oh, absolutely.
People sense that energy and that shift in how you are and who you are as a person. So that kind of makes sense. You're gonna have lower blood pressure.
I mean, it's definitely
well. I
great
see the
benefits.
whole the blood pressure, fewer stress related health issues,
Better
immune system, and the
lower
heart
rates of
disease.
heart
But
disease.
that's all related to stress.
You have to remember,
You
it
know,
tears down your immune system
And
when you hold all
stress
that
is a
inside
huge
you.
killer. And the more that we, sit there and are thinking of, oh, and she did this, and our blood pressure is just rising, and it does. When we forgive, it just kind of we let it
almost
go.
Almost like when people say it takes the world off of your back.
Yeah, the weight of the world.
Like everything is just it's a more you're in a more comfortable.
Well, imagine like
setting.
if you get a new job, like you're super stressed at your job, you work at a very high paced, very difficult people to work with, and then you get another job. You just sleep better,
Are you speaking from experience?
Sometimes, yeah, but this has happened in the, and I know you know what I'm talking
That's
about. Yeah,
It must be nice.
And let's be honest, when your psychological and physiological is very strongly linked.
Correlated, yes.
Absolutely.
When you have like depression, when you have anger, when you're anxious, all of these things, there's a very close relationship between, like you said, stress, anxiety,
absolutely. Stress
blood
is the number
pressure,
one killer.
immune system, all of these things. If you're constantly angry, you're constantly like stressed, you're going through all this thing, like you are going to have more episodes of like high blood pressure. You're going to be more prone to heart disease.
Well, have you ever noticed that, like, and everybody's different, and I know mine, when I'm super stressed, I get a physiological reaction. My eye twitches.
Oh, I get that.
And I know that I am just.
That's why your eye twitch?
Well, my eye's not twitching now because I'm so stressed. But I do know when I'm super stressed and I feel that eye start to, I'm like, oh, what's happening?
Or like if I'm extremely stressed or like very worried about things and just like under a lot of pressure, I tend to get headaches.
Okay.
I tend sometimes also I get the eye thing too.
You get the eye thing?
Yeah, I do.
That's weird.
My sleep is affected.
Yeah.
I mean, so you really look at it and everything just kind of melds together and everything works. And to be honest,
mind-body connection. It's we got a very powerful organ up here that can control a lot or everything.
And if you're constantly in a state of bitterness, if you're constantly waiting for the worst, if you're expecting something to happen to Lucy, if everything that you're doing in your world is somehow revolving around
Lucy,
like Lucy, and what needs to happen to Lucy to kind of set the record straight between you and life, you're going to end up getting to a point where without realizing it, you're in a very bitter place in your own life.
And you're going to reflect that out on everybody you come across.
Yeah, and even those thoughts, I know a lot of people that I work with, when it gets to a point, a lot of those thoughts start becoming habits. You don't even realize sometimes that you're having these negative thoughts. You're not really realizing that you're constantly in a place of like waiting for the worst, expecting the worst. That just kind of becomes life. And it just kind of becomes where you're at.
Exactly.
And you might not even be aware that the reason that you're having all these feelings and all these inner struggles is really because of the thoughts that you're having. And that place where you're thinking is kind of playing in like all these other physiological areas. And you've just become a bitter, angry,
and you know what?
person.
That is a learned behavior when you have kids as well. That is a learned behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
When you can't forgive, that child's going to grow up, not forgiving. Oh, you did this to me. This is how I am going to react.
Now, they're not, they don't need to know what happened with Lucy, but if you and dad break up and that's going to affect them every time they hear you talking about dad, it's negative and he's this, or even if they overhear you, you talking to a friend about, oh, look at what he did now, and now he won't pay me child support. Remember, those little ears have, they can catch things in like another room.
And then you wonder, I love to see how kids handle confusion or how they handle stuff and between themselves. Yeah,
right.
Because the way they handle it, you can tell that's what's going on in the household. If mom is going to hang up the phone or just stop talking to somebody, guarantee they're going to do the same thing.
Exactly, they're going to mimic that behavior.
And that's a really good point, because remember that when children come into this world, they don't come with all these preconceived negative kind of feelings and ways of
Right.
behaving. That's not something that you're born with. It's something that you learn through experience. It's something that you learn. Special kids that are very good at mimicking, that's something that's a learned behavior. And that's a good point. If you as a parent have tantrums and don't forgive and are fighting with people and are constantly reactive, you're going to end up having a reactive child. Your child is learning that from
or explosive. I mean,
exactly.
just exploding over the tiniest of things. I beg parents, just go sit in your child's classroom one
and just
day.
watch them, but don't let them know that you're there, because they will be completely different.
And I've seen parents change their whole behavior after they've seen the way their child reacts to certain
because they see that, oh, that's me
all day long.
Let me ask you, what happens if you can't forgive?
Not all things are forgivable.
Not all things are forgivable, but what if you're stuck, you really want to forgive, you really want to move on, you're really tired of having this person hold, a space in your head, and you can't do it. What do you do?
Sometimes I think you're a better place with that person not in your life. I mean,
no, but they don't have to be in your life. But what if they're still there, present?
So here's my opinion. I think it's important to understand that forgiveness is a process. Forgiveness is not something that happens overnight. It's not as if I decide that I'm gonna forgive you today and then I wake up and all's forgiven. It's a journey. There's gonna be days that I have made a decision to forgive you, and I might really start working on it, and there might be days that are a little bit more difficult, and there might be a day that it's easier. But I think the most important part to understand about forgiveness is that it is a process. It's something that you have to work on constantly. It's not something that you do once and you're through with it. There's going to be situations that are trying, and that might be times when you struggle a little bit with it. But you revisit why it is you want to do it in the first place. You revisit what the benefits of it are. You understand how it's impacting your life and why you wanted to make that decision in the first place. And then you work on it. But it's not going to be something that's going to happen immediately. So I think the key thing that goes with forgiveness is patience. If you have a set expectation of how long it's going to be, there's that word again, you know what I mean? Then you're going to be disillusioned because it's not going to happen in the way that you imagine.
Because we're dealing with feelings.
Yeah, and it is a difficult.
It is, and it's kind of a loss.
Everybody is different.
It is a loss. There's been, the reason for why you need to forgive. You may have lost 2 relationships at that point. Now you're not friends with Lucy, and now you've lost your boyfriend. So you have all these other feelings that are also there, and we can't just turn our feelings on and off like a switch. I wish we could. That would be great. Let's invent that switch.
Or
$10 billion idea.
What happened when you forgive somebody and they do the same thing again?
Well, again, would that fall under the, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me?
When they do
because I've allowed myself to put myself in that position.
So I think in the whole thing, it's really just important to acknowledge that you have the right to decide if you want to forgive or not. You decide if it's right for you, understanding that forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation or friendship.
Exactly.
And that it's something that you do for yourself, not necessarily to let that person know, but it's something that you do because something in your life at this point in time isn't right. And the anger or the hurt or whatever it is isn't sitting right with you, that you make the decision that then you need to forgive someone.
And as you let go of the grudges, you won't define your life as how you've been hurt. And I think that's very important because when we are hurt, that's what our life is look at what's happened to me.
And you become the victim.
Exactly. So, we need to work on letting that go.
So thank you for watching The Female Perspective. We want to invite you to like us on Facebook at The Female Perspective. Let us know your thoughts or ideas if there's anything that you want us to discuss. And if you want to contact us privately for maybe a session or appointment or anything that's going on with you, our number is 786-565-4757.
Don't forget to watch us on YouTube on the www.247miami.tv page.
And that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day.
Bye.
You've been watching The Female Perspective right here on 247miami.tv.
Peace.